The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
It is April 3rd, 2023, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty, where we bring you the people and the organizations fighting for liberty. But today we have a show where we're just going to focus on some of the top stories out there so we can give you a little of our perspective that's going on that. But before I do that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host. So, biggest news, take your pick this last week. There was, topics like, are they going to ban TikTok? The president got indicted, a big shooting in Nashville. Well, we're going to try and cover all those today. So let's start off with President Trump getting indicted, which is kind of a historic sort of event. And some of the stuff we wanted to talk about with this is it just screams selective prosecution is what it sort of jumps out at you right away. And the first article I was going to pull up on that is Dershowitz was talking with Tucker the other day about it on his show. And, of course, Dershowitz was trying to make the comparison, well, what if Clinton had paid off Paula Jones? But another comparison people have been made off, well, Hillary Clinton paid for the Steele dossier and that whole Russia, thing against Trump. So, this is, kind of like, it doesn't seem like there's any interest at all in, being even-handed with this. And of course, this case that is being brought up, it happens to be a case with campaign finance that is a charge that is already been passed over by the feds for looking at the violation. And then it has the time limit on the case has already expired at the local jurisdiction as well, I believe, but they've found some creative way to bring it back in this sort of a TDS furor to just go after Trump for anything. But one of the things that is kind of funny in all this as well is that in their just religious zeal to go after Trump, they don't seem to have even vetted their case very well, as rickety as it sounds. And there's this guy named Robert Costello, who is the attorney for Trump's attorney. So this is how crazy the case gets. So one of Trump's old attorneys.
He used to be. He's not anymore. He used to be.
Yes, exactly. One of his old attorneys has been. He's already been convicted of a crime himself already, and has been sitting in jail, I believe. But he had an attorney named Robert Costello. And so this guy was advising him. And this Robert Costello actually was, he was given a waiver by Cohen that he could break client lawyer confidentiality. And this one clip is so good. We want to share this short clip with you from Tucker because to me, it seems like the case is over before it began, but let's play the clip on this one. This is just unreal how crazy this is.
And jury today, I was deputy chief of the criminal division of the U.S. attorneys for the Southern District. I said I wouldn't touch a witness like Michael Cohen for any amount of money. You simply cannot rely upon this guy. And tonight, he was on another station denying that he waived the attorney-client privilege. Here it is, in writing, and that's his signature on the second page. So
that's unbelievable.
I guess he didn't know that, and the district attorney didn't know that. And I told them, Michael Cohen has been in your office 20 times and twice in the grand jury, and he forgot to tell you that he waived the attorney-client privilege 22 times? Really, is this the kind of witness you want to ride to the finish line?
And that's literally a guy impeaching their their top witness, their star witness, and it sounds like they did so little digging in this that the whole digging has been for Trump's grave, not to actually do the work on the case, apparently. So, what do you guys think about this? I mean, this just sounds nuts.
Tim, go ahead.
Leon.
Tim, go.
Let's see what happens in court. There you go. See you in court. That's the part I like. We'll see what stands up to the scrutiny therein and what doesn't. And so, I don't know how good their case is, but it is just that they just hate him so much they'll do anything, including forget about all the ways in which their favorite heroes of the Democratic Party are equally vulnerable. And we'll see. I don't know how the statute of limitations is, but once again, there's just all this hypocrisy. Hey, it's what's good for us, not necessarily good for you, but it doesn't matter. So what's up, Leon?
Well, I'm really wondering about the motivations behind this case, quite frankly, because Jason, you said the feds had passed on this case. Not only the feds passed on this case, that very office, Alvin Bragg's office, before he was the district attorney in Manhattan, that office passed on this case also. So it's quite interesting. And also the FTC also looked at this case and said there was nothing. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong. So the whole issue is, I'm wondering what are the motivations behind this case, and it smells like politics all the way through. Now, I think the Democrats believe that Trump is the easiest candidate to beat. I don't know why they believe that, but they believe that, I think. So I am wondering if they are not trying to boost Trump, because Trump is getting a lot of mileage out of this, quite frankly. And I'm sure, he's going to make a big show of him going to New York tomorrow and getting arraigned. I think he's going to New York today, and he's going to be arraigned tomorrow. He's going to make a big show about it. And I think he's going to get a really good political boost out of this whole affair. So I think that I am wondering if the Democrats really truly because Alvin Bragg said prior to him even taking office that this was one of the things he was going to do, was he was going to go after Donald Trump. Those are not his words, but he did say something along those lines. So I'm wondering if they're trying to boost Trump so that he will become the Republican candidate for the presidency in 2024. And then they believe that he'll be the easier of the candidates to beat. Now, I don't know if he's running against Joe Biden. I don't know how that will be plausible in any real world with this half-dead president we have right now. But this is what the Democrats believe, that he's the easiest of the candidates to beat, I believe. So it's just very interesting. But this thing stinks to high heavens, okay? Because there is the legal theory that they are using to bring this case before the grand jury and then hopefully into trial for them is so novel that every scholar, every legal scholar with half a brain will tell you how weak this case is. It is horribly weak. And Jason just brought up Cohen. What is his first? I don't remember. I can't remember. What Steve Cohen. What's his first name? Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a convicted liar. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not to say that I am accusing him of lying. The federal government have accused this man of lying and sent him to prison for this. And now we have this guy, this Robert Costello, even showing that he did waive his attorney-client privileges. How in God's name could Alvin Bragg be using this man as a star witness is beyond me, quite frankly. So I have to believe this is some political game these people are playing for the 2024 presidential campaign. That's what I think is going on.
Well, Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the fact that you think it's strategy, Leon. I mean, from what I've seen, the incompetence there in New York is so high that I don't think it's strategy. I mean, that when they have a much better case, if they just wait for the case to open up in Georgia that they have against Trump there. So I think this guy is just grandstanding for his own purposes, this Alvin Bragg. And remember, this is that terrible prosecutor. We talked about him on the show before, who prosecuted Jose Alba.
Alba, yes.
A bodega worker who was, just minding his own business, doing his job. And he was attacked by, some thug whose girlfriend's EBD card wouldn't work for her. And, and he defended himself. And he wound up killing the guy and defending himself. But I mean, the guy came behind the counter and was beating him, and he picked up the sharp thing that he could grab, which was a box cutter or something, and he wound up killing him. But Jose Alba, the whole thing was on video, and this Bragg, he had that, and yet he threw Jose Alba in Rikers Island. He didn't charge the girlfriend, who also was stabbing Jose Alba at the time. So it appears that Jose Alba's, his only sin was skin, and the metric was melanin, and he didn't have any. So, so that he just had nothing to work with there in New York. But I mean, that's what you're facing in New York here. And there's all kinds of other crimes too that have just been let go by this Alvin Bragg. But he's going after this kind of crime that has really almost nothing to do with his jurisdiction. But he clearly just wants to make some kind of name for himself. So it's just incompetence across the board is what it seems to me.
And there's an even more recent case. Now, Bragg has a reputation for taking all kind of felonies and making them into misdemeanors. I don't know where he get the authority to do that, because he's just there supposedly to enforce the law, not to make the law. But he has a reputation for being soft on crime. So he's taking felonies and making them into misdemeanors. In this particular case, he's taking what was essentially a misdemeanor and making it into a felony. Okay? That's what he's doing. And somehow or the other, he's grabbing jurisdiction over this thing, which apparently it was more of a federal offense that is being alleged, but somehow or the other it's coming into state jurisdiction. I don't know how it's all working. That's why this whole novel theory is so ridiculous. But there's even a more recent case involving this Alvin Bragg. There was a guy who shot another guy. The guy shot him first, and then the guy got the gun and shot the guy and killed the guy. And Bragg charged him with murder, but just today it came across the wire that he has since reversed course, and he's not gonna press charges against the guy who defended himself. But this is Bragg. This guy is so bizarre; it's unbelievable, and this is his bizarre actions that makes that when you think about his previous conduct and look at what is happening right now with Trump, there's something else. Maybe it's he's trying to boost himself. Maybe, he's the guy who indicted a former president. Maybe that's what it is. But I know this is something seriously political that this guy is after. And I think it's a presidential election. But, you might be right, Jason. It might be he just trying to boost himself, his political fortunes, because he's an elected, he holds the elected office, and maybe looking for something higher one day. Who knows? I don't know. But it's possible. But this is bizarre, quite frankly. This is completely bizarre.
So let me make sure I get your theory straight, Leon. So you're saying that the Democrats are mounting from the beginning a flimsy case just for the to give Trump enough boost in the Republican Party to get him to become the nominee, and then they'll handle. So they don't mind losing the case. They want to lose the case,
yes.
Because otherwise he wouldn't be able to be president, correct, or even be a candidate if they want, correct?
Right. Yes. They want to
lose. They want to lose,
but they want Trump to be boosted by it. That's what they want.
So that then he's the candidate, and they don't have to go up against a DeSantis or somebody else. And there you go. They then think that that will help enable them to win the next election, and Biden or whoever is going to be a shoe-in. That's what they're they're looking at.
That's what
correct?
I'm thinking. I can't see any other explanation for this, because this is crazy. The case is so damn weak, and Jason, you pointed out some of the flaws in this thing with this Michael Cohen and stuff like that. The case is so damn weak. In this corner, we have Jason that thinks it's just pure incompetence, and then the other corner we have Leon he's thinking it's a brilliant plan that is from the beginning a desire to lose. Yeah, if you could call the Democrats ever doing anything brilliant, yes, it's a brilliant plan.
All right. And I'm stuck in the middle. I just want to wait and see. That's all.
I do think that the Democrats have shown themselves to be like the coyote chasing Trump the Roadrunner this whole time. I mean, we've just seen endless cigars blowing up in their faces, and them finding themselves over midair with their feet, running while they do.
Right. and here's Trump the whole time going.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, speaking of blah, 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 now's a good time to talk about our TikTok story. So it's funny, we just came out of this, and maybe we could get the visual up on this, James. We just came out of this whole thing with Twitter files and the idea that the government was censoring stuff. Our government was censoring stuff. And lo and behold, our representatives in their ultimate wisdom have decided that TikTok is a danger to the country, and it very well could have some threats. But their solution is, hey, don't worry, we're the government and we know how to censor things, so we're going to censor this for you. And it's funny because it was like a bipartisan effort there to get rid of TikTok, and then Rand Paul sort of, good old Rand Paul threw the wrench in the gears and stop this ridiculous beast of a machine from going forward with another law. I don't know if he's permanently stopped it, but at least he stopped the fast track on it. So they're going to have to do a lot more work trying to get this thing through. But it's like, wow, no matter what it is, hey, we're the government. We got a solution for you. We're here to help. And oh my gosh, this sounds like this would have literally given them the power, would have given the Biden administration power to say any foreign-owned social media platform, they would have essentially been able to ban or censor. And, it's just like, wow, what did it's like deja vu. Didn't we just see this with TikTok? What do you guys think about this?
Oh my God! Well, yeah. So what? We're becoming more like China as far as social media goes. If it's from somewhere else, then we can ban it. We can control it in every way. Is that what the United States?
Tim,
is that the example?
Tim, you just said it. We're becoming more like China, and I just heard a quote from somebody the other day. They said we're becoming China with drag queens. But go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry, I couldn't let that go.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I would have heard that, I would have said, it would have just come right off the top with, "Are we like China with drag queens? Is that what the United States is?" Yeah, I mean, what kind of example is that to the freedom-loving people around the world, around the globe? For the beacon of freedom, the United States, to try to replicate or imitate. What kind of example is that? Anyway, an example that just puts the United States in the garbage heap of typical tyrannical regimes. That's all it is. That's an example right there.
While I will acknowledge there may be some problems with TikTok and probably the Chinese doing some spying here in the United States, the involvement of the U.S. federal government is very concerning. And Jason, you said it was bipartisan. Quite frankly, it is probably more of a push from the right, the Republicans, to ban TikTok. But when the federal government started to get involved in these things in terms of speech and in terms of expression, you always have to be careful. I mean, we already know, we have the Twitter files, and we know what the government was doing, the FBI in particular, was doing with social media. But we don't know the full story because we only know about Twitter. We don't know about some of the other social media, what they were doing. Now we are going to expand their powers. Now there's an attempt to expand their powers to allow them to ban certain platforms here in the United States. The case in point here is TikTok. This is truly concerning because true, you might argue, well, the Chinese might be spying on us, blah, 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 and seeing some of the stuff or that our kids putting on TikTok. I have never used TikTok, so I don't really even know much about it. But this is the government and speech, and I don't want them involved in that. I really don't. I don't want them in regulating speech. I really don't. Maybe there's something we can do in terms of finding some other way to deal with the supposed national security threat. I don't know if there really is one, but there are a lot of people who have suggested that there is. So maybe it's something that needs to be looked into. But I don't want the government involved in the regulation of speech here in the United States. It's a dangerous precedent. And I was very glad to see Rand Paul stopping this fast track, like you said, using your words, Jason, stopping this fast track to the expansion of government power to regulate speech. I was very glad to see it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too that gets me about all this is that why on earth, if we really think that the danger is that TikTok is being used by the Chinese government to gather information about everyday people, I guess, and the idea that maybe they're sending misinformation, that's the other big, alarm bell that, they don't want them to be able to flood us with misinformation. Well, I think you just said it. You don't bother to use TikTok. I don't use TikTok because I've heard some of these claims about it. Well, so we could choose not to use TikTok, right? I mean, we don't need to have the government to force us not to use it. And the idea that we have so little faith in our people that they won't make the right decisions if informed, then it says something either one, it's a problem that we don't have faith in our own people, or two, if they really aren't that sharp, what the hell? I mean, we put them through 13 years of government education, and you're telling us that's not enough to say TikTok bad. You can't get that message across, on some of these things. You can't just, the idea that you have to go ban things afterwards and people, don't have enough, it really begs the question of what the hell are people learning if they can't even figure out basic things like TikTok bad? So, I don't know, but
it should tell you something about our education system, because people apparently we can no longer do any sort of critical thinking because our public education system, just like you say, is so damn bad that we can't figure things out for ourselves. So the government have to tell us, and in that sense, it empowers them. Since we cannot we cannot understand what is misinformation and what is disinformation, we cannot discern these things. So the government have to tell us what we should or should not believe, what social media platforms we should or should not use, and to what extent we should use it. So this is where the government regulating speech, that the expansion of that power is where it becomes so troubling in all of this. And I want them to stay out of this, okay? If there's really a national security threat of the use of TikTok, let them investigate it. Let them find out what that threat is and deal with the threat. But I don't want them banning TikTok just because they think it's a bad thing. I don't want to regulate in speech, period.
Well, it looks like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was just going to say, if they're going to be in Leon's suggestion that they find out the extent of the spying by China on us through TikTok, if they're going to be doing that, then at the same time, why don't they also look and see what the extent of the spying done by the United States on its own citizens through all these various social media platforms that we have been knowing about since Snowden. That's how long it's been. And,
that's responsible regulation, not spying, Tim.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Quit spreading misinformation here.
I know. I know, it's so easy, it just rolls right off the tongue. So yeah, so, I mean, really.
But China is spying, definitely spying.
Well, yeah, but so is the U.S. And,
no, that's just responsible regulation, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, but that's a valid point, because right now there's a hearing going on in DC, Washington DC, about the weaponization of the government. And a funny thing happened while Matt Taibbi was testifying. While he was testifying in front of that very same committee about the weaponization of the federal government, an IRS agent went to his home. An IRS agent went to his home. Now talk about potential intimidation here. So this point about looking about surveillance and spying by the federal government on American citizens is a valid one, and it's something that we should take just as seriously. So Tim, that's a good point you're making there. And I mean, if we're going to look into the Chinese spying on us through TikTok, yeah, fine. Let's look at all of the spying and the censorship that have been going on by the federal government through these social media platforms. I'm all for that. Yeah, let's
come on, Leon. The IRS just wanted to make sure Taibbi wasn't spreading misinformation. Right?
I'm sure. These are the good guys, and they're here to help, right?
Yes. Well, this has got me good and triggered, and this brings us kind of to a really sort of tough story this last week, and that was what happened in Nashville. There was a school shooting at I believe it was at a Presbyterian school, I believe it was there, and a person who kind of had some identity issues. I guess they were a trans person, came in and they shot 6 people to death in that school. 3 of them 9-year-olds. In fact, maybe James, we could get the visual up here. These were the 3 victims. So you can see here the woman who ran the school. I believe this guy was a janitor at the school. And then we have 3 of the children, who were shot dead at the school as well. But Tim wanted to share with us the aspects of at least how this was a good guy with gun story too. And then we're going to jump into just a little more about the story as well, some of the issues in the media with the story. So Tim, how did you want to jump into
I was just going to ad lib. So we linked a video of a guy I've been watching for quite a while that analyzed this from 2 issues, the morality issue and the tactical issue. So what we saw in Uvalde was basically people not caring seemingly about the morality issue of losing children every second that goes by potentially. So in this case, fortunately, the police, they are good guys in this, a little departure from our normal good guy who is just a normal citizen or a police officer off duty. But these police officers rushed to the scene and rushed toward the danger and finished this this bad situation in about 3 minutes after they got there. So it took them a while to get there, and so this is where the majority of the loss of life occurred. And then once they got there, they did a really good tactical aspect, but they didn't do everything by the book. They were moving too fast to end the this assault on these children and adults. And so
Tim, I believe that the response time from the whole thing, it took them about under 20 minutes to get to the shooter from when they were called, I think. So it's really amazing compared to Uvalde.
To Uvalde. Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, that's what a lot of people will be doing is comparing, contrasting this. And because the morality of the situation is that you have to, maybe you're not going to be tactically perfect, but you're going to have to move fast and get to the source of the gunfire and put it down and stop it so that there's no more a loss of life. And so this is what they did. They took that high road, and even though they still did a really good job, in my opinion, not that I know much, but of the tactical aspect, but those guys got it done in 3 minutes. So you got, and they went upstairs to do it. So it was on the second floor. So anyway, that's what this is all about. And then finally, his final point is that because they had to wait that, so approximately 15 minutes for the police to, once they were called, to actually get there, fairly typical response time. The admonition of this fellow in the video, the host, was that, you're going to have to make a decision. And we don't know, or we're not willing to even discuss, honestly, the real reasons, societal and cultural, why these kinds of things are increasingly happening in the United States. But it ain't the guns. The guns are way harder to get a hold of today than they were when I was growing up. I'll guarantee that. And so it's not that. There's some breakdown in society where people have a reason to do this kind of thing. And so his admonition was, hey, if you're a teacher, if you're a janitor, and you want to carry a firearm for protection, and you're in a gun-free zone, just do it anyway, essentially. It's up to you. It's up to you, whether you want to do it. Because, hey, if you can conceal it good enough, maybe you'll be the one that saves yourself and all these children from any future shooting. Because it's obvious that we're going to continue to have shootings, and we're not going to go to the root cause of what's going on in society that's causing them. In the left, I know they just think, oh, we just got to get rid of guns, and then it'll be nirvana. There won't be any murder, as if murder never occurred prior to the invention of firearms. So here we are.
And what's sad is that, in best case scenario, and this is about as fast as it could be, if somebody had been armed at the school, maybe, that might have been the difference. Yeah,
it might have been the difference. And it may not have ever even made the news, Yeah.
Well, and quite frankly, too, those shots, you can hear them in the video, and you can find this video all over the place online. And the police are already in the building when the shots go off. So, and I believe that's when the people were killed, because there was the police were going through, and then you hear some shots, and you see the police hustling there. I think that the shots had already, that the police had already made it to the building by the time the killing started.
They were stepping over people laying down, or kids.
Okay.
They were stepping over them, and they were it's real quick, but he stops it and points it out. But they covered it up with the little square things that moving around, so that you couldn't see the actual person. But they were moving around casualties and during their operation. So it had already happened, and that's why they were moving so fast, is to put an end to it as soon as possible. Again, unlike Uvalde, where they just sat around and sat on their thumbs.
Hearing it all and not doing anything.
Right.
All waiting for one chief to talk to another chief to another chief, and get the political go ahead that everything would be okay.
And this was for more than an hour. They did this, they sat outside.
And so understand that from libertarians, we are people that believe in the free market, the millions of people making decisions economically for their own benefit. And we're the opposite of the top-down central planners. So the top-down central planners are who were running the show in Uvalde, and the people that could have done something about it were standing around waiting for them. So this is just a warning from me, I guess. Don't wait on the top-down central planners, okay? Just do it, just make free market choices. And if that includes, defending yourself, that's a free market choice if you're free. If you're not free, if they ban guns, nobody can have a gun, then you're no longer free to make that choice.
Well, it will not, the whole issue is, Tim, it will not be that nobody will have a gun. The criminal element only will have guns.
Correct.
Well,
yeah, you are
but
correct.
there will always be crazy people out there. And of course, this is part of the problem. You talked about what's the real cause. Well, clearly there was a mental illness issue going on here, probably. And,
Well, if the mental health industry is constantly trying to remind people that in these kinds of shooting, it's rarely somebody with a mental health issue, other than I know that's killing a bunch of people is a mental health issue, but not every time. I mean, it's actually very, very rarely where they have a clinically diagnosed mental health issue. They have all these other things around it that we call mental health, but that's the only thing I would caution you on is thinking that these people are all clinically crazy. They're not. They're just they're reacting, and in many cases, most of them are on psychotropic drugs like Ritalin and others that cause them to do that. That's not mental illness. That's drug-induced behavior.
But this brings up the question, though, of how this was framed and how we are seeing mental illness, because in this particular case, and Jane, maybe we could get the visual up on this. So there became kind of a media hot potato of, it's funny when it's a white male shooter, boy, they don't have any problems ascribing it to white supremacy right off the bat before they have any details.
They don't mind telling us about you evil white guys. We know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all back to the sin of skin and the lack of melanin. Right? No matter what, that's where it goes to. But if it's anybody else, then suddenly the media gets very cautious about how they handle it. They don't want to make any assumptions. In fact, they even want to hide, the details about who the shooter is, because it kind of messes with their narratives. And in this case, it was a trans person, and apparently it was a person who went to that school, and the person was 28 years old, and they, apparently were having issues with their identity and the fact that they had gone to this school in the past. So they targeted this school. They went there. It wasn't just a random school. It was something that they had targeted, and it was because of the religious affiliation and to do with the trans issue itself. And, at some point you kind of have to think, well, how much of this is mental illness and not, but regardless, it's funny how the media just jumped around. Like even in CBS, apparently had a this is a report from Fox News, was telling its staff not to use the term transgender. So, like I said, if it's a white person, a white male shot up a white supremacy. But if it's, don't say anything about the identities we like on our channel.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anything for the narrative. But and then James, this was the most craziest thing of all. In the White House, in the shadow of this event was, and maybe we could get the video up here, where they were identifying with the killer and not the victims, which is the craziest part of all. Can we get the video on this one?
To be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. But
so the trans community is under attack. It's not they're not talking about. It was literally a Christian church that was attacked, and it's possible out there somewhere they said, "Hey, we feel for the families," but the idea that there was literally a community that was targeted because of their religion, not because of what any individual there, that they knew that they harbored some ill will. It was literally just because of their religious identification, and so they attacked that school. And it's beyond the pale of how they danced around this. And even crazier, in Arizona, this person who worked for Katie Hobbs, the woman who recently became Democrat governor there, she literally put out a meme in the aftermath of this that shows a picture of a woman holding a gun and saying "us" when we see transphobes. So of course, and that's what they're calling the people at the church is transphobes. So it's like, do these, what the heck is going on here? You guys have any thoughts on this?
This is sickness sickness on steroids, okay? Insanity on steroids. This is what's going on here. Because, in too many aspects of our society, we are seeing them trying to normalize clear mental problems. Okay, now I'm not whatever, I'm cognizant of Tim's caution. Okay, but we are seeing too many other societies that we are ignoring mental problems and trying to make it into something normal. Now let's take a step back here. Look at the news when they're talking about homelessness. Okay, homelessness have to do with mental disease, have to do with drugs, have to do with alcohol, but all they talk about is a homeless crisis. And you know what we have to do about that? We have to give people homes, as if that's going to solve the problem. It will not. It never will, because you're not dealing with the root cause. In this case here, we have someone who apparently was taking some sort of drug to deal with some mental issue the person have. They also had the delusion of created by his or her gender dysphoria, because fine, gender dysphoria is real. Okay, it is real. Nobody is claiming it is not. It is real. People do struggle with this thing. I understand that. What I have a problem with is the prescribed treatments. That all of a sudden a man can become a woman and a woman become a man if we just cut out certain healthy body parts. Come on, this is insane. So this kind of delusion is infecting various parts of our society. And then we see tragic events like this that we saw in Nashville. And then we have the White House. We have people in the White House like this Kareem Jean-Pierre, whatever the hell her name is, talking about how the trans community is under attack. We just saw the death of 6 of our fellow citizens, 6 of them, who did nothing to this person. 6 people, okay? 3 of them are little kids. And the only thing the White House and this Korean Jean-Pierre, the sickness of this woman, could come up with is to tell us that the trans community is under attack. What about the little kids who died? What about the little kids who was laying on the floor in that school, who went to school that morning, happy to see their friends and their teachers and everything else that they get from that school? What about those little kids? And before the day was out, they were on the ground bleeding to death. What about those people? Are those people under attack too? But no, the trans community is under attack. These are the delusions that's going on in our society that is infecting too many sectors of our society and causing us some serious problems if we don't do something about it, really and truly.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I would add to that is that, and not be an expert on mental health issues and the specifics of people, whatever the dysphoria, what would you call
Gender
that?
Dysphoria.
Gender dysphoria. I'm not an expert on that, but I'm not an expert on much of anything, to be honest. But the thought is that something is going on to cause this kind of behavior, whether it's somebody has these issues with their gender or whatever, being bullied and feeling the effects of depression, and so why is all this stuff going on, and why have we lost the connection that people used to have with society, with their family, and all this other stuff? There's a lot of things going on here, and I really wish that the focus would be that direction. But from the Democratic Party, all the focus is on not the people that did it, not them, but everybody else. The gun owners, the NRA, the this, the that, but everything except the person that did it themselves, and what caused them to do what they did. So if this has anything to do with the struggles that this person was having with their gender, or the reaction of drugs that were being utilized to help calm their depression, or whatever else it may have been, hormones to make the jump from one sex to the other, or whatever, let's look into that. What's wrong with that? Mm-hmm. Because the focus now is on the person that did something that was horribly tragic, as Leanne so artfully put. And so that's, for me, the focus that I would like to see moving forward on all these cases, regardless of who perpetrated them. Right. And what the underlying thing was is to explore that avenue. But the Democrats got to take the easy way, because everybody that's a Democrat hates guns and wants, well, not everybody, but and just no, wait, they love, oh, never mind, you've heard that, they love guns, just the government guns, just as long as the government has guns, they love those guns, they just don't love my guns and your guns and everybody else that is a private citizen and not trained to be the expert like the police are. No, they're not, but anyway. Well, although these guys did a good job. These guys were really did. Well trained. I
agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too. You talk about you got to talk about the idea that the trans community feeling like they're under attack, when it's funny. It's just this terrible framing by the media, because what we're literally seeing, the debate is, it's not about whether a person who's an adult is free to follow their trans identity, wherever that may be. We're talking that the real fight in legislation is about children. And the idea that means the trans community is under attack if we're having a debate about whether or not parents should have a role in making that decision for a child. I mean, this is lunacy. We're in clown world at this point.
I wanted to make that point myself, but you did a better job than I would have.
Yeah. Well,
and the debate also, Jason, you're right about the kids in particular, and that's true. That's a major part of the debate of whether parents should be making those choices. But there's a secondary debate here that is also ongoing that's aligned with this. Even with adults, the question is it appropriate to be treating a psychological disorder, which is what gender dysphoria is? It is a psychological disorder. Is it appropriate to be treating a psychological disorder through physiological means, like cutting off healthy body parts? That debate is going on even with adults. But I mean, I'm not here to suggest that we should stop people. Adults, I'm talking about. I don't think we should stop people if they wish to change it. Claim they can change their identity and do it. That's fine. I believe in liberty. You can do that if you wish as an adult. But I totally agree with you that the majority of the debate is with concerning little kids, which I am totally against. Okay, I'm totally against that. But there's that secondary debate about the psychological disorder versus the physiological treatments that are prescribed.
Well, we've gone way over time, and we had something else for Knucklehead Noise Patrol, but I think for this one we'll just chalk it up to what Karine Jean-Pierre said from the White House, which is that the trans community is under attack and their hearts are with them, and that's our Knucklehead Noise Patrol then for this week. And next week though, we have People for Liberty coming up, so and hopefully we'll have Jo Jorgensen here joining us for that one. So we look to interview her. And you can check out a recent interview we just did with Goldwater Institute. Joe Setyan was on, so he told us a little bit about that. So you can go check that out as well. But thanks for joining us, and until the next one, stay tuned and stay free.
Yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.